very hot topic in the sports world today is equal pay between men's and women's sports teams. This, however, is a much deeper argument than men versus women. This all comes down to the income of the sports teams and their leagues. American professional athletes should not be paid as much as their male counterparts based off of the income and profit that their separate leagues make. In this speech, I will show the facts as to why this unequal pay in the league is not based off gender, but based off the higher revenue that the men's leagues bring in compared to the women. And just to clarify things before I get too far in, I am in no way saying that women should be paid less than men in the business world, but this, of course, is all to do with the sports world and why it is not possible for the women to be paid as much. I'm credible to inform everyone on this topic today because I've done extensive research on this topic and why it is like this in the sports world today. This is relevant in our world today because of the constant talks of the wage gap between men's and women's sports teams. This also appeals to the average person because, according to Statista.com, 64% of Americans say that they are sports fans. I will use this speech to provide the facts to show why there is an uneven gap in pay. To begin with, the biggest reason for the wage gap between men and women is all based off of the massive difference in revenue taken in by their leagues. The most prominent example of this is the WNBA versus the NBA. The average WNBA game has a total attendance of 6,780 people, with a ticket price of $17, while the NBA has an 18,000 person arena with a price of $89. This math comes out to $117,000 in ticket sales versus the NBA's $1.6 million. And this, of course, is a massive difference. It is a total of a $1.5 million difference in individual, one game ticket sales. Ticket sales, however, are just a small fraction of the revenue the NBA brings in every year. According to Christian Jope of the WSN, the NBA brings in a total of $7.4 billion versus the NBA's $60 million. This difference is astronomical, and this is part of the main reason why women athletes cannot be paid the multi-million-dollar contracts that we see male athletes being paid today. The reason all of those stats are so important is it shows the true reasoning behind the gap in pay between these two leagues. In report trained spotlight on gender wage gap, the Sports Power team reported no WNBA team is higher than number 327 on their 350 team list of average earnings. It would be amazing if they could have equal pay, but this statistic really drives home the issue in different pay. The WNBA does not just have a massive national or worldwide fan base like the NBA. Hopefully, as we progress in our future, their fan base can continue to grow and they will be able to pay their athletes but close amount of money as the men. With a higher profit in the league, they could slowly pave their way to paying their athletes more money. There are, however, some people today that are fighting in this cause for equal pay between the men and women. A very popular argument against this is that case of the United States women's national team, and how they are paid less than to the men, while making more profit and performing higher and a better performance in their games. This, however, is all based off of poor contract negotiation. In 2016, the U.S. women's national team filed a lawsuit with the premise of equal pay for equal pay. Their claim was that when two employees are paid a different salary for the same work and same amount of games, this inequality is discrimination, and this inequality is wrong. This is a very strong argument against what was currently happening to them. Because if two people are playing the same amount of games and putting in the same amount of hard work, morally they should be paid the exact same. Many of the players also publicly spoke about this topic. U.S. women's national team captain Carla Lloyd said, "I think we've proven our worth over the years. Just coming off a World Cup win, the pay disparity between the men and women is just too large." While in the last 10 years, the U.S. women's national team has had a greater profit than the men, their contracts are set up to where they can't make money based off of incentives. A contract woman on the women's team makes a base salary and can earn performance-based bonuses. Players without a contract have a different pay schedule. On the men's team, however, players can only earn bonuses and are not paid if they do not play. The fact is, if both teams lost all their games, they will make the same amount of money, because the men get a $5,000 bonus for losing and a $10,000 bonus for winning. This is an important fact because it shows in a perfect market that the men and women's teams are equally in an equally fair market, that they are paid the same. In conclusion, based off of the difference in income between American men's and women's professional sports, it is not viable for women to be making as much money as the men. The facts behind this reason, different wage gap, are unarguable. The means just physically are not possible for right now to support it. That is why I talked about this topic today. Because yes, it would be amazing for everyone to be paid the same, and hopefully someday it can happen. But right now, there is just not a possibility for it. While in a perfect world, it would be amazing if the men and women could make the same amount of money as the men. But they put in just as much hard work and effort into the game as the men. But right now, it is physically not possible because of the financial status of WNBA in comparison to the much bigger and more popular NBA. Thank you.